Hi everyone, today we're gonna do a fun talk about payment. We got to this because I started talking about inflation rate and everything, and then we got to learning about economy. And in my high school, I never got to learn economy, or maybe I did, but I just don't remember. I was like, yeah, whatever. Side story. But anyways, so economics. Thank you. Um, so should I say, so the question we have for today is, should teachers get paid more than what they're getting? And let's see what chat says. So before we get things in detailed, let's look at how much they're getting paid. So we got this big chart from National Center for Education Statistics. And this is the table for estimated average annual salary of teachers in public elementary and secondary school. So this is focusing, what's secondary school? Is that like high school, middle school, and high school? Or I don't think they have middle school. Okay, 2020, yogi. Wow, they started at $8,000 and increased up to 65 for US itself is $65,000. How much is that monthly? Wait, how much is that monthly? Is that like $28, $30? $30 per hour, right? So maybe like $3,000 or $5,000 monthly per month with tax, $5,000. So we should look at the consistent 20. 이걸 봐야 되구나. Oh, thanks. So $31 hourly. So they're basically getting like entry level price for software engineers living in maybe like Wisconsin. $30 per hour. What is the highest? I feel like California has the highest, right? Because they're at $80. $80 is a lot. And then the probably the lowest I think is maybe South Dakota, 49. 49? 47. 47 in Mississippi. Wow. So Columbia is also 80. 50 in Arkansas. Wait, how much is Wisconsin? Ooh, Wisconsin is also high. Ooh, Wisconsin is not that bad. Wait, Wisconsin is lower than average though. Well, they have it in percentage change. 87 New York? Wow. That's DC. Oh, that's true. That's true. The spending costs in New York and Cali, the big cities, are definitely high. Massachusetts also 86. So the big cities, their wages a little bit higher, which makes sense. So if the living cost is high, then it's definitely their wages should be high. But then if their probably living cost in Mississippi is going to be cheap. Arkansas, you said was cheap. Arkansas, 50,000. So New York City versus New York. Let's learn about teachers then, the occupation of teachers. So first thing that we've learned about teachers, guys, is that their average salary is $65,000. And then the highest was New York. Probably, as Chad is saying, NYC. Because of New York City, it made the overall wages probably high. And then I think the lowest was, and this definitely has, this is probably adjusting to the living cost. So, and then correct me if I'm wrong, but I think teachers also get summer off. Is this true? Because students don't go to school, and weekends off. I mean, weekends is everyone. So how long is there, like, in terms of working, like, at a company, how long is their holiday? See, I've never been a teacher, so I'm just kind of guessing and, thinking by news. So teachers also have the 2 weeks vacation. So maybe it's not technically that summer is off, but they do have 2 weeks vacation, roughly, average. They don't have all summer off, so not all days in summer. Because some are given tasks like new curriculum, Reason why is new summer school. So when there are teachers who don't teach summer school, for example, do those people get paid? But I think because of other places, the average increase. Like, for example, if you compare like Mississippi, other places, so wow, 37K. Oh, and then my other question related to this is, you know how in a company you guys have, there's like a, you know, like senior or CTO, like the C's suit, etc. If can teachers' wage increase depending on how long they worked? So principals, well, I think principal and administrators definitely make sense. But let's say I taught at the school for 10 years. Are they going to increase it because I am like an experienced teacher? Or are they just be like, hey, you're still a teacher, period? So it does increase. What is 8BL22는 뭐예요, 여기? 22 years of experience plus maybe 8B? BA is bachelor's, MA is master's. Oh. So teachers also have to take courses outside of school to stay accredited. Really? So that's something new. So teachers actually have to spend extra... Teachers need extra courses / education before... And I'm guessing this is reimbursed. Depending. Oh, education specialist. Oh. So, is this enough information we need to know about teachers? What other things should we know? So, I'm guessing this is like the current condition. What would be really interesting to know is how much they spend, like the time spent on preparing the courses. Because raise of hand, who has that experience where I could basically use someone else's, like a senior's, you know, like school project, or I mean, not school project, this is like too much, but like I could use one of my upperclassmen's, let's say, old test paper because it's exactly the same, or like somewhat very similar, the questions are out of order, or you know, and you kind of would think to yourself as a student back then, be like, dude, this teacher isn't spending any time trying to prep for a course, right? How much do you think maybe like an average teacher would spend on preparing for courses? Or is there any data related to this? If you guys could find it, please help me out with this. That's true, yeah. So maybe 2 to 3 hours. If anyone actually can give me a rough estimate. So maybe we'll do like a rough guessing estimation. Oh yeah, that's true. It would probably depend on like elementary would be, I don't know how you would prepare for an elementary school. Maybe this is actually the hardest because you have to think of it as an elementary kid level. You think 30 minutes? Oh, so my 1 hour wasn't that bad. But then you would have to think in like elementary level of how to teach ABCs. So maybe 2 to 3 hours. Okay, so after Googling it, I'm guessing this would be definitely like high school level or middle school. Can we all like, you know, agree on this stats that this is maybe like the number of time a teacher, like this is what defines as a job of teacher. So they're basically just like a normal company worker. They have probably worked 40 hours a week. Yeah, because you're in school for 8 hours, right? And if you have classes. Well, that's another question, guys. So let's say I teach or in high school and you only have 3 classes equals what, like 3 hours? What do you do outside? Oh, grade, papers, prep. What other things do they do? Because we talked about physics classes, which is completely, by the way, off from what we were talking about stocks. So sorry guys, if you guys came here for a stock stream, it ended up kind of being talk about jobs. Because you usually don't have classes all day, right? I don't think there was any teacher who had like 8 hours of teaching. I guess unless you're in a big school. But I was in a pretty big school and there was no one who would teach all 8 hours of class. Normally, at max, they would have like 3 or 4. But correct me if I'm wrong about this. So let's say this is the teacher's average at work, how much they're getting paid, maybe job at work. If there's anything else that should be included that I'm missing out, feel free to, say something, leave a comment, blah, blah, blah. But we'll use this statistics to determine if they're getting paid more or not. So after doing like a little survey with my chat, we got 14% saying yes, they should get paid more, and actually 26% saying no. Interesting. So let's say for those who think they should get paid more, they are currently getting an average of $65,000 as a salary. How much should they be getting paid? They taught 7 periods, because even looking at the current salary this is New York salary, but with a bachelor's degree and C1 for their first year, they're getting 61K. So for starting salary, is this too much? Should you be getting paid less for teaching kindergartners, and then should you be getting more to teach high school? I guess the number of education required for high school. But if you're thinking about elementary school, it kind of feels like a babysitting job, as in like it's a tiring job that they should get, maybe a certain amount of increase. That would be something interesting to know on the side if anyone wants to figure it out. Is there any educational difference required? If there's any education difference. So why do you think it started out having like a maybe low salary? Because maybe people didn't appreciate the job. They're like, hey, teachers, why do they get paid more? They don't do like anything, right? All they do is like teach. So probably underappreciated. So then maybe is it a negative circulation where we're having this like, oh, well, if teachers are getting paid so little, like, I don't want to be a teacher. Like, I want to buy a Ferrari, and there's no way with the salary that I'm getting from working as a teacher I could get a Ferrari. So I'd rather be let's say a developer. Is that kind of like the mindset that they're having? Those who wanted to be a teacher couldn't be a teacher, guys, because of maybe salary issue. So then who are those that are being teachers right now? Who are you guys? Maybe these people don't need money, or, like they just love teaching so much, like passionate people, or they want to work with young people. Another question would be, hey, so do you guys think that, hey, you know what? Government suddenly goes, hey guys, I think teachers are very underrated. We need very good, maybe like, we need a programming teacher, and there's no programming students who wants to be a teacher. Because, hey, why would I be a teacher if I'm getting only like, let's say 40, 50K to teach an elementary student people? But, should we increase the rate? So some of the things would be, I don't think attracting more candidate is necessarily a good thing, since people come just for the money and not for the kids. That's true. So you really have to be a kid-loving person. And pay for performance can be incentive to improve quality. So instead of just, spontaneously increase the salary for teachers, it might be better to do it more as like a pay for performance. But that would be kind of sad. It's like, what if the kid's not trying? I'll be a K-pop star. I don't think math is needed in a K-pop star world. All I need to do is be a good dancer. So what would be some of the things that, like if it's those type of cases, like what would the teacher be like? Hey, K-pop needs math. You need to calculate how much movement you should be doing while being in a dance, The worry about attracting those who don't have the best mindset for kids is outweighed by possibly attracting higher qualified teacher. More teachers should give you a smaller student-teacher ratio. Oh, so first of all, in terms of pay for performance, guys, it's hard. I think this is hard. As much as I think it's a good idea to do it, because I've had so many teachers who weren't very enthusiastic about being a teacher, but I feel like those might be the minority, or if there's a better way to get those people to actually work on their teaching skills. Because honestly, if you think about the job as a teacher, like their stereotype is those, maybe obviously the good thing would be, they like to teach kids, they're very passionate about teaching, they don't need money, but also at the same time it could also lead to, it's like an easy job to get compared to like if you're gonna be a programmer, or if you're gonna do like analyzing the stock chart thingamabobber, blah blah blah. So in in that cases, maybe they're actually not qualified for teacher, but they needed to get some type of income, so they just decided to become a teacher. But like those, I guess those type of issue might occur. So I understand why it should work for pay for performance, but at the same time, I think this is gonna be too stressful for the kids, because that's also going to be a negative circulation where the teacher is going to be like, hey, you just got a C on your exam? Like, what the fudge? Or it could be like vice versa. Hey, you know what? The answer to this was B, but I guess C could make sense. I'm just going to give you a good grade so that I could get paid more. I think states that do get paid better usually tend to have better education and aren't too dire of situation. My concern are regarding those states who have super low salary states. So let's not think about New York and everything. And maybe that's why the no came in, because maybe those people are living in like California, New York, where, dude, they're already like their education, they're already getting what, $80,000-$90,000 for salary, and they're getting paid more than me. And I feel like my work is also as hard as a teacher, so how come they should get paid more than me? Like it could be those type of people. So the other concern that we're talking about teachers would be teacher low salary state. So we already saw in like maybe Mississippi and those type of states that they're getting what, like 40K, 49K, 47K per salary. Not per salary, sorry. Which is, I think, equivalent to, correct me if I'm wrong, but intern at a mid-sized company would be my ideal guess of how much this price would be. I guess my first question would be, how come low salary equals lower education rate? So what if, since, like New York, definitely, it's like New York, Cali, definitely. So I think people were talking about Florida. Maybe Florida would be a good one to pick because they are I feel like Florida might have the money, but maybe they don't have the right salary for teachers. Is it A, B, C, D, E, F, Florida. So Florida is actually getting paid $49,000 for salary. Is Florida a well-established state? Is that the right way of putting it? Wait, how come Florida's so low? So maybe Florida would be a good example. Because I don't think we should talk about maybe like Mississippi or those places. Because I think they're just in general over there in that state, they just have a relatively lower expenses. So maybe it kind of makes sense. But so Florida reduced their annual sale for teachers, no state tax. Oh, is that what? Because they don't have state tax, the income, the salary for teacher is low. So I feel like lower salary generally attracts lower qualified teachers, or teachers may have less enthusiasm and incentive to work harder if the pay is low. That's what I kind of thought. So I'm actually surprised that Florida would be one of the places that have, bad number for this. But I guess if there's no state tax for salary, maybe that also makes sense too. Let's look at the other side. Why teachers shouldn't get paid more. And you don't want to be brave enough in saying, hey, honestly, I think, overall teachers are good off with their jobs, they're living fine. Who wants to give maybe a reason why? So it's higher than the average salary would be one of the reasons why. Increasing teacher salary equals higher tax for individual. Less technical. Maybe we can put it that way. Oh, that's a great way of putting it. Open career. And the overall result and trending direction of public education has been terrible. So teacher can run a class that basically autopilots. Okay. Teachers should also get paid in accordance to their subject. Subject. Oh, that's true too. Because this is definitely like education requirement too. So let's kind of talk individually about maybe why they shouldn't get paid more, about each of the bullet points, and then let's talk about it. So their salary might be low, but they are still considered higher than the average salary. So what is the average salary in US? It's actually at $56,000. So it is actually above, which is, if you compare a couple of the jobs, well, even Alaska has high. Maybe I think their teacher demand is high, so they have to have it high. So other than maybe like the states that have just in general low expense costs, I am just double checking the states because this state is important of who I'm checking with. So I know average salary in US doesn't really count, but there isn't really a job that you could compare teachers with. So it kind of guess makes sense if you could compare it with that. I could see this maybe, and then you're kind of seeing, okay, well, like maybe there are harder jobs that are actually getting paid less. Average is influenced by outliers on the high and low. That's true. I know what you guys are getting to it. So check median. Okay, not average. Median salary. Are you sure you want to do median? Because it's lower. It's 41K, 42K. This has a graph. Median salary in the US is 42K. And we're saying, hey, there are harder jobs that actually, maybe getting paid less. So what about those type of those type of jobs? What are they going to do with it? Like if teachers' jobs should increase and we're thinking, maybe some of the jobs are maybe thinking to themselves, but I think I'm doing like similar working experience as a teacher versus, my current job. I don't understand why they would get a raise and I'm not getting a raise. But then we ended up raising everyone's job. Then imagine how much you're paying taxes, right? In the end. So, and then I'm guessing this one would be increasing teacher salary equals to higher taxes for individual. Kind of relates to what we just talked about, since they are getting paid with taxes. It does cause you, but for this one, the only thing that I would like to fight back for this is if it means better education for my child. Because we're not just thinking me as an individual. I'm going to get married. I'm going to have child. But imagine having a teacher who's like, smoking weed in the corner, being like, hey, you do your homework? Like, I don't want that type of teacher. Of course, there aren't going to be that type of teachers if the wages are lower. But just, like worst scenario ever. If that's the case, like, what are you going to do? That would be, I would fight back by saying, hey, don't worry. Like, I would be curious to compare with private schools. Are private really effective with having more funding? That's true. May get paid more to start, but rural suburban teachers have generally better quality of lives. Oh yeah, that would be something interesting also to know, is that maybe it actually doesn't mean that you're getting a higher tax. Saying, hey, Gov Opar, stop spending money on helping outside people. Help spend money on your own people. Like, if I were to defend what this person is saying, be like, of course higher taxes individually for me right now who's single sucks. However, if I'm getting a child later, and if I'm like seeing my teacher just like don't care anything about my student, which might be even the case for some of you guys later in your future life, that would suck. So I would rather pay more for better education. And I think that's probably the same thing. Like, imagine you went to that teacher and the kid didn't know anything. And he's like, oh, dude, Dad, guess what I learned today? 2 + 2 = 5, because you could flip the 2 around and it becomes a 5, or it actually becomes 55. And that's what my teacher taught me. Like, it's not like that, guys. But like, imagine the kid coming up, you don't want that to happen. Like, flip the 2 around and it becomes a 5. I don't know, I'm making worst like comparison ever in the world, so don't listen to me, but that's kind of, worst case. No, teachers aren't like this, trolly, but Other things, teaching job is more open career to everyone is kind of relates to the salary rate, maybe the current amount that they are getting. If you compare it to like maybe like the difficulty levels, of course there's like mental difficulties, which is also true. But if you compare to like customer service, they have a really hard mentality job, and like, you know, in terms of also what you need as a requirement to be a teacher versus like other professional jobs, it kind of makes sense for this one. So maybe in defense, in future life, maybe education with kids, I'm not sure, would be something I would like to talk about against that. But this one, I think this one kind of is hard. And then overall results and trending direction of public education has been terrible. I think, sure, yeah, if this is true, then it's awful. Like, if that's what they're gonna do. But if it's because there isn't a good pool of teachers out there to teach good kids, like teach them like good education, we need to figure out a way for these, you know, people, students, to be a teacher. Because like I said before, if I'm getting paid, if I'm a CS major and I wanted to be a teacher, but if I compare the salaries, of course not everything's related to salary, but it's really hard to get into a job with just passion and for you to like in the end wanting to buy a house. Especially guys, we just talked about inflation rate increasing. Like, your house is going to be so expensive. I personally think they're not really correlated, saying, you know, like they shouldn't get paid more for the education complicated issue, and that teachers are one of the issue but isn't the main issue. Oh, isn't the only issue causing this. I like that too. In general, US spends more on education, but student performance are deteriorated significantly. Oh, so that's why this type of argument came. Well, like I said, do you think that's... What can teachers do about that? Even parents don't know how to treat your child, right? So now you're saying, okay. Okay. So basically, government isn't using money wisely to fix the issue. Better education. But like I said, I think this is a super complex issue. I think it's just, it has to be the environment though, like the culture in that whatever place you are. Like, if I know, who was it, there was a lot of people who complimented Korean education, guys. Did you guys know it? I think it was in US, someone complimented it, Korean education. But did you know that a lot of Koreans actually enjoy American education because they live more freely compared to Koreans? You're getting like compared all the time. So I would be very interested in looking at a country that has a very good education along with very good outcome. So it's hard. Finland education is one of the best then. Yeah, I think so. I agree. There's always benefits and downsides. So because a lot of people ended up committing suicide, even if they're top grade. And I think that's probably the same case, not only in Korea, but other countries. Like India's probably has a lot of smart kids, but their environment of comparison, competitiveness isn't actually mentally safe for their future careers. You get the result of what grade you were in, and like the number, the rank that is in and everything. So, you know, like, I don't know if you want like a, maybe better education maybe isn't the right word to put it, but you know, to get everyone just in general educated and to allow them to learn the idea of thinking to yourself. So even if you're excellent at mathematics and you're getting, you know, if their happiness rate is so low, what's the point of, you know, working to that excellence, right? Because smartness isn't the key of success as always. And I guess you end up learning about that, I think, when you grow older, and that happiness is something that you should be doing. That's another issue. why they are another, you know, question, reason why teachers shouldn't get paid more. So I think this would be a very important, interesting thing for government to fix, and I guess number one thing to fix. So I feel like recent idea of everyone is equal. Students are thinking they are just as smart as teacher, or just end up just ignoring them. Oh yeah, that might also be a good argument on the other side, but I don't know if that should be. I think that's just like another environmental issue that should be taught better. But how do you do that? How how should students listen to teachers? Ooh, so difficult. It's too difficult, guys. So teachers can run a class that's basically autopilot. Kind of makes sense. So honestly, maybe in the future there might actually be AI teacher. You know how a lot of jobs are going to be, you know, like AI is gonna end up taking over everything. But then what are you gonna do with like their mental status? With the trend of everyone doing their research on the interweb, students feel they don't need to listen to teachers. Yeah, that's true. I don't think you're ever smarter at age, 16, unless you're like a genius than a teacher. You think you might have been, but you're too young. Maybe that's not the right phrase of saying it, but you're too inexperienced. Thank you. You're too inexperienced with real life. Teachers should also get paid in accordance to their subject education requirement. This one I found very interesting because but this one's also hard. I know you guys compare dancing versus math. They do have different degrees. As a dancer, this is just sad. Because dancers just in general can't make money unless you're like super rich. But anyways, dancer versus math, like, dude, how are dancers supposed to earn money? Like, everyone's dancing on YouTube now because they can't earn money, or TikTok. I did have one incident where the teacher was teaching a math wrong and I didn't know enough English to correct her. Oh my god. So to avoid that kind of situation, what are you supposed to do? Because the moment that happens, everyone's gonna look down on her. Everything that she does, she's like, oh my god, she's so dumb. Why is she teaching this class? And like, I've had those type of issues too, which is so sad. Like, I've had a couple of times where this teacher will sound so stupid. I'm like, why am I learning this from her? But yeah, I can see on both sides. So to kind of conclude, guys, because I want to leave it open book, like hanging. There's no conclusion. In conclusion, just kind of sum it all up to what you guys were all saying. How should I sum this up? I don't know. Because I think I'm also on both sides. I could see why they need to do other things before raising salary. Oh, maybe I should put that. Honestly, of all the opinions that were given to me, median salary was one of the things that I was like, I could see the point. And the fact that maybe like they should try different options before maybe increasing the salary. But also at the same time, I'm thinking, but if we want experienced, or maybe not the word experienced, but talented teachers who's passionate, but like is kind of concerned about money, then they should raise it. Let's say I fit so well to be a teacher. But if they're only paying me like 60K when I could be in a factory, like, you know, as an engineer working like 80K, what would I pick? I still want to buy my Ferrari, right? So, and then what also bought me from the other side was, like, imagine dealing with babies / kindergartner. Oops, I'm over that, like elementary. Or the fact that like they look down on the job teacher should be definitely changed. I think this might be the biggest issue that should first change. Best teacher is Google. I think there's always something that you can learn. There's a reason why their title is teacher, right? So that's my conclusion, guys. So median salary definitely makes sense because, you know, what about the other jobs? The moment we increase job salary for teachers, I feel like the other jobs are going to be on a riot, being like, hey, and they might actually come to me, be like, Shinri, do my job. Pay change the salary for my job too. And then, you know, they should differ. So actually, honestly, this is the con of why, and then this is the pro. And in conclusion, it's too complex. What are your thoughts? That's my little spiel on the job as a teacher, and I don't know, man. That's all up to you guys to decide. That was all for my if teachers should get paid or less debate question for today. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. If you guys have any questions, or if you guys are like, hey, actually, Jinri, that's really wrong, please like write on comment. I'll like read it and then we'll discuss it later on Twitch. But, you know, in general, good luck to all the teachers out there. You guys are amazing. You know, thank you for teaching my kids. And if you guys are considered maybe like the lazy teachers, like, you know, work up your game, be a good teacher, you know, set a good example, do your studies, do your preparations, you know. And that's all for the teacher debate. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and stay tuned for the next one.